But again, she bragged about doing this, and then she went and did it. And the consequences for the state of Wisconsin, the consequences for our whole country have been extraordinarily bad. And let's just walk through this. Think about all of the fentanyl brought into this country by the Mexican drug cartels. You know the leading cause of death for Wisconsin young people is now fentanyl overdoses? That poison, we do not have to let it into our country. Kamala Harris wants to hire thousands upon thousands of IRS bureaucrats to go after our fellow citizens. Donald J. Trump and I want to wage war on the Mexican drug cartels and stop this poison from coming in the state of Wisconsin. You know, we ought to talk about the fact that thanks to Kamala Harris's open border, you've got thousands upon thousands of children in Wisconsin schools who don't even speak English because they're the children of illegal immigrants. And what does that do to the quality of the education for Wisconsin children when you drop thousands upon thousands of people into our Wisconsin school districts who don't even speak the language of the guidance counselors, of the teachers, and of their fellow students? Look at hospital and emergency room wait times in the state of Wisconsin over the last few years. They have skyrocketed because we've got millions upon millions of people in this country who don't have the legal right to be here. And of course, we got to talk about maybe the most dire consequence. The worst is certainly the fentanyl epidemic, but I'd say the second worst problem of all of the illegal immigration coming into this country is that it's made housing unaffordable for our fellow citizens. Because think about this. If you've got 25 million people who don't have the legal right to be here, you got to put them somewhere. And by the way, a lot of them we're putting up at five-star hotels on taxpayer expense paid for by the people in this room. But think about this. Donald Trump and I, we believe that you got to pursue the regulatory policies to build more housing. That's one of the most important things you got to do to make home ownership more affordable. But thank you. But my friends, it doesn't matter how many homes we build. If we allow those homes to go to illegal immigrants, we're never going to make the American dream of homeownership affordable in the United States of America. So yes, Donald J. Trump and I want to build more homes. Yes, Donald J. Trump and I are going to fight to lower mortgage interest rates so that our young people can afford to get out a loan on a house. But the most important thing we're going to do to make American home ownership affordable again is that we're going to ensure that American homes go to American citizens, not to people who don't have the legal right to be here. And you know, Kamala Harris has the audacity to go around and say that the Republicans, she says, don't care about Social Security and Medicare. I was raised by my grandmother who could only put food on the table because of Social Security. We are going to fight for Social Security, but you know, number one way to bankrupt Social Security and Medicare is to do what Kamala Harris is already doing, which is giving it to illegal immigrants. You know how many tens of billions of dollars we spend on Social Security and Medicare benefits for illegal immigrants? And the media and the Democrats will say, well, they're not supposed to. Well, yeah, they're not supposed to, but if you just look at the fraudulent applications, the number of illegal immigrants who are getting Social Security and Medicare, it is going to bankrupt that program. So here's the biggest difference of all, maybe, between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. She's rolling out the red carpet for illegal immigration. She's inviting people to come into this country. She's giving them health care, Social Security, and housing benefits paid for by all of you. Donald J. Trump, when he's back in the White House, the message to illegal immigrants is going to be very simple. Pack your bags, because in 3 months you're going back home. Now, let me just leave you with a couple of final thoughts here. My friends, we got to get out there and vote tomorrow. If you look at the early vote numbers, the absentee vote numbers, Republicans, we're doing as well as we ever have in the history of American elections. That's the good news. But the bad news is this is not even close to over yet, and this election, I'm telling you, in the state of Wisconsin, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it is going to be won on Election Day, or it's going to be lost on Election Day. So here's what I'd like all of you to think about is what would you do differently over the next 24 hours if you woke up on Wednesday morning and found out that Kamala Harris had won the state of Wisconsin by 90 votes? You think that sounds crazy? That was the margin in Florida in 2000 was that tiny. So ask yourself, what would you do differently over the next 24 hours if you knew that we were going to lose by 90 votes? Because that is what you should be doing. Because if every single person in this room tried to bank as many votes on Election Day tomorrow, it's very simple. Donald J. Trump is going to be the next president of the United States, and we're going to take this country back. That is what's on the table. So my request is very simple. I want every single person in this beautiful room, every single one of you, I want you to get out there and vote 10 times. Now we got the media is going to say, the headline is JD Vance comes to Wisconsin and encourages mass voter fraud. No. Here is the legal way to vote 10 times, and that's what I want you to do, is to get yourself to the polls tomorrow and get 9 of your friends and family to come along with you. That's how you vote 10 times, and that's what we got to do. Because think about the stakes of this election, my friends. Think about what's really going on here. This is not about red team versus blue team, Republicans versus Democrats. We got a lot of Democrats and a lot of independents who are going to vote for Donald J. Trump tomorrow, a lot who already have. And, of course, we're proud to have them. This is not even just about beating Kamala Harris, as fun as it's going to be to beat Kamala Harris tomorrow. And trust me, I'm going to enjoy it more than anybody in this room. Here's the thing. Our fellow citizens are struggling. Their lives could be so much better, so much healthier, so much wealthier and more prosperous, but only if we fix the leadership in Washington, D.C. I've met so many people over the last few months that I wish I could take every person in this room on the Trump-Vance plane and just show you the perspective that I've gotten over this country over the last few months, because it's made me love America even more than I already did. There are people... Ush and I have 3 beautiful little kids, a 7-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, and a 2-year-old girl. I met a woman a few weeks ago, actually, in Michigan, and she told me that she couldn't afford her groceries. She was getting involved in politics. She was one of our grassroots volunteers. Told me she couldn't afford groceries, but that every single night she said a prayer for me, for my wife, and for our 3 kids, and she knew their names, first, middle, and last, because she said a prayer for them every single day. A woman who can't afford groceries has got the generosity of spirit to pray for me and my family. I met a woman a few months ago who told me that she was worried about canceling a family ritual. For 40 years, she and her husband, in good times and bad, had done steak night on a Friday night. But last year, for the first time, they canceled steak night because groceries had gotten so expensive under Kamala Harris's leadership that they just couldn't afford it anymore. I met so many parents of teenagers who took something under peer pressure at a party, like, let's be honest, a lot of teenagers do, but instead of waking up the next morning with a lecture from their parents or maybe a headache, they paid for that mistake with their lives, because that mistake was laced with fentanyl brought in by the Mexican drug cartels. I've met veterans. I've met the families of our brave service members who died 3 years ago in Afghanistan, who are, of course, heartbroken that they lost their loved one, but they're most angry at Kamala Harris because there's been no accountability for the fact that their 13 loved ones lost their lives and nobody got fired, and there's been no accountability for the fact that those young people died from government incompetence. Think about all of our fellow citizens, all those people who can't pay their credit card bills, all those people who can't afford their prescription drugs, and they could do so much better if we fix the leadership in this country. So over the next 24 hours, I want you to think about them. I want you to think about the woman who deserves to have steak night with her husband. I want you to think about all of our families who deserve to raise their children in safe and secure neighborhoods. I want you to think about the veterans who put on the uniform every single day and deserve to have a president who respects and fights for them. I want you to think about all of the American citizens who could be living a better life if they simply had better leadership in Washington, D.C. My friends, tomorrow we are going to give the American people better leadership. We're going to make Donald Trump the next president, and we're going to do it together. God bless you, Wisconsin. I'll be back soon. I love you.
Hello, Detroit auto worker, let me thank you for your time. You work a 40-hour week for a living, just to send it on down the line. Hello, Pittsburgh steel mill worker, let me thank you for your time. You work a 40-hour week for a living.
ये नेपोलियन अलेक्जेंडर जेंगिस को घोड़ों पे बिठाया और हमें एक साथ टी पार्टी में।
उस मरी का आइडिया होगा। Let them eat cake.
हम भी तो क्वींस लोग हैं। मैगजीन बैन कराते हैं
और अपने सोशल्स पे डालते हैं।
I'll invite all the queens.
Madame.
Look at me.
Invite, collaborate, and create together for social media at the speed of social media.
I'm coming for you and my arm.
देखना, इससे इंस्पायर होके मार्टिन किताबें लिखेगा।
Hope he doesn't spoil the ending.
Canva, दिल से डिजाइन तक.
And you know, the day of that horrible situation in Butler, it was just about there. It's weird that you have it almost, because it's usually all over the place. You have no idea where it's coming up. When I say lift up the sign, I usually have to look all over there. I have one over there. But that graph is so meaningful because of, but even if the numbers were bad, I would still kiss it just equally. But those are the best numbers in the history of the border. And then look, it was like an Elon Musk rocket ship went up. They announced they were going to open the borders. I thought they were kidding. I built 200 miles of rail. And this is what Border Patrol wanted. I wanted to have concrete plank like in a parking lot, straight up and down the air, but you wouldn't get vision. And concrete is not as strong in terms of steel. They have very strong specifications. They wanted to have steel, hardened steel, very hard to cut. Then they wanted to have very powerful, high-number concrete, so very hard concrete. And then they wanted to have rebar at the highest level of steel strength in the middle, because it's very hard to cut. It's like, it can be done if you're really good, but it's very hard. And then they wanted to have a anti-climb panel on top. I hate it. I hate the anti-climb. I said, I don't like it. It's so beautiful without that damn panel. I said, don't make me do that, sir. It's an anti-climb panel, and it's called that for a reason. And we actually had testers. We had guys, 2 guys that climbed Mount Everest. I said they should qualify. But you know who the best were? We had drug runners. These guys are unbelievable. They went up that thing like it was nothing. Like I never, with 75 pounds of drugs on their back, drug runners. They were beating the Mount Everest. Well, it's a different profession after all. But they were right. That anti-climb panel stops them cold. They couldn't get over the anti-climb, so I said, let's do it. Let's do it. But we built 200 miles of additional, and all they had to do is put it up. The hard work was done. They were built, it was delivered, and the hard work was done. Highest specification, cost more money than what I would have done, but what I would have done, they have acids that actually melt concrete. They have certain acids that you put down. Those planks would have come down very easy. These guys are ingenious. You know, if they would spend their brains on good, everything in the world would be nice. No, they're genius. The way they smuggle drugs into our country. You got to see the cars. They build cavities in engines. So you're inspecting a car. They have them in hubcaps that even if you take the hubcap, you can't find them. It's like a double hubcap. It's the craziest thing. If they would spend that genius on doing good for their country or for us, I mean, we would have no problem. I mean, it's really incredible. And you know, the people that do the trafficking, what they do with the women is they put them in trunks of cars. It's mostly women, by the way, mostly women. A lot of people say traveling and trafficking, but the trafficking is women. And the reason is it's become as big as the drugs. And the reason is because of the internet. The internet made it a modern business and a big business. And I'll tell you, some of these guys are among the richest people in the world, and they run a real operation. And they essentially take care of Kamala because they even have an app where they can call, so they learn where they can drop people that they're putting into the country, where they can come through with drugs. They have an app. Can you believe you call an app? You're now a drug trafficker or a human trafficker, and you say, ding, 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 hello? Where do I drop these people? Go about 7 miles up, and then go a mile left and just drop them at the opening in the gate. Okay, can you believe this? This is Kamala. Right, so all that stuff ends very quickly. We'll get that thing built. But they could have put up 200 miles. Oh, you know what they did with that expensive stuff? And it's expensive. They had it laying in the sand, laying in the mud. It was all there to be put up. All they had to do is flip it up. It goes like, they put it up real fast. 3 weeks. The whole thing, we would have had 750 miles of wall. Think of it. And boy, walls work. Walls work and wheels work. You know, they never get obsolete, right? The computers, in about 2 minutes, they're obsolete. And, but we have the best computer guy there is, right? We have Elon. And he loves it. And you know where Elon is right now? Elon is right now. He's in Pennsylvania campaigning because he thinks it's the single most important thing he's ever worked on. Elon Musk, and we want to thank him. He's an amazing guy. When I saw that rocket came down, when I saw that sucker come down, 22 stories, by the way. You know, people think it's like 5 feet high. It's 22 stories. That sucker's coming down, and it's those engines were blowing. He says it's all computers. You know, it's true. I said, oh man, it's going to crash. No, dude, it's going right into the gantry. Right? It's going to crash. And then the fire starts blowing, the whole bottom left is blowing, and it just pushed it up. And then it came down, and those two big arms, you saw the arms? They grabbed that thing like you grab your beautiful baby. See, I've gotten much better. Years ago, I would have said something else, but I've learned. You have to learn. I would have been a little bit more risque. Like you grab your child, and I put it in place, and I called Elon. I said, was that you? Yes. And he said, that's genius. He said, yeah, it was a lot of brain power went into that. I said, why do you do that? He said, well, we don't want to drop a ship in the ocean every time it goes, and you have to start all over. Those things cost billions of dollars. He said, this way we save them. I said, can Russia do that? No. Will they be able to? No, not for a long time. What about China? No. You know, we opened up Space Command. We did the whole thing. If we didn't do that, we'd be way, way behind. Space Force. You know, Space Force. We got one of the many. We did so many things with the tax cuts, the regulation cuts, the right to try for those people that are terminally ill. You get the right to try our medicines here instead of going to Asia and Europe. Or if you have no money going home, which is about 99% have no money and they go home. But the few people that have the kind of money you need for that go to Europe, that go to Asia. And we have the best labs in the world, and nobody ever talks about it. They tried to get it for 50 years. I got it done, passed through Congress. You think anything's easy to get passed through those guys? It's not easy. But we did so many things, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. It's worked out unbelievably. And, you know, nobody wanted it. The scientists didn't want it because they're terminally ill. They don't want to start from a terminally ill person. Looks bad on the records. They didn't want record sheets. The insurance companies hated it. It was very, very, I got everybody into a room. Our country hated it because our country will get sued. When somebody's terminally ill, they die and they sue the country. I said, you can't do that. I got everybody in the room and I signed an agreement. Everybody agreed that we're going to work beautifully with people that are terminally ill, but they're not going to be allowed to sue anybody. If they die, they die, and if they live, it's going to be the greatest story. We have saved thousands of people, and nobody ever talks about it. You know, nobody ever talks about thousands and thousands. I mean, we have a person in this room who was saved by Right to Try. We're a space-age drug. They're doing things, but it takes a long time to get them approved, or I cut it in half. I cut that time in half. But the FDA takes 12 years sometimes to get something. And by the time it's approved, a lot of people are gone. So when they're terminally ill, we get them that drug right away. And they sign an agreement that I or my family will not ever, for any reason and under any circumstance, sue the United States government, such and such a drug maker, such and such a lab, Dr. Schwartz, Dr. Jones. We will not sue anybody. We just want to get better. That's all it says. Pretty good, right? That's pretty good for only a semi-non-lawyer. But that's essentially what it says. And you know, the funny thing is the ones that were most against it were the drug companies and the labs. We have the greatest labs in the world. What we're doing, space-age things, and we got it started. It was dying on the limb before I came along. Well, NASA was dead. When I came along, all you're seeing with the space, and NASA was dead. NASA had grass growing out of its runways. I mean, they had, every time there was a crack, you had grass. This place was dead. Now it's the most vibrant center anywhere in the world. All of their centers, it's vibrant. And Elon brought it back, and the people at NASA are doing a great job. They're all working together. But we brought it back. And ultimately, we want to go to Mars and all, but what I want it for is defense. And Russia and China were killing us in space. And space is so important. It's going to end up being maybe, I don't want to say more important than the Marines, because they'll never speak to me again. But I'll tell you what, it is going to be right up there in terms of importance. It's important. If we didn't have it, we were being lapped by China. They have stuff up there. And Russia, even though they're a little bit busy killing a lot of people, a war that would have never taken place. Zero chance. I'd speak to Vladimir Putin a lot. It was the apple of his eye. Don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, I closed up his pipeline. It was dead. Nord Stream 2. Biden came in and he allowed it to go. But he closed up the Keystone XL pipeline. Think of that. I said, no, Joe, you got it wrong. You let Keystone go forward and you close up the Russian pipeline. But he did the opposite. And then they said, oh, Trump loves Russia. Trump loves Russia. It's the biggest project they've ever had. I'd close it up. Then he came in. The first day he was there, he let him build it. So what is that? Oh, that sounds so cute. I love dogs. I love dogs. We love dogs. You know, Lara Trump, by the way, you happen to know she's married to my son, and she's the vice chairman along with Michael. They're doing an incredible job. But she would come into the office, and she loves dogs and pets, and she would get me to do things for doggies that you wouldn't believe. Dad, we have to make the cages larger. We have to provide air conditioning. Can you believe it? I didn't know too much about it, but you understand what I'm saying? In these kennels where they're obviously not treated too good. I said, so do we have to give them a steam bath? Or do I? No, she was very, very strong, and I listened to her when she talks, I listen. But Laura was so incredible. As you know, she was born in North Carolina, lived here his whole life. And even Ted Budd, who's doing an incredible job. And I said, Ted, run for the Senate. And he said, I'll do it, but I'm only going to do it if Laura's not going to run. Is that right? He said, I'm only doing it if Laura. And she said, you know, I've devoted so much time, and I'm raising these beautiful children. I have a great husband, and you know, and Ted is great. She said that. She said, you have a great guy in Ted, very nice. But he did say that, and I you know, a lot of people would say they'll bowl through. Nobody would have had a chance. She's very, they love her. They love her in the party. They love her in the, even the Democrats love her. Can you believe it? Stand up, Ted. Stand up. And he's doing a great job, but I thought that was really nice. And she knew he would do a great job. Tomorrow you have to stand up and tell Kamala that you've had enough, you can't take anymore. You just can't. What? They're all screaming, fire her, please. I mean, what a terrible job, what they have done to our country. And you're going to say that to her. You're going to say, you've done a terrible job, you're grossly incompetent, we're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out. Get the hell out of here. You're out of here. Get out of here. That's what we're doing. Thank you very much. So with your vote, we're going to win North Carolina, we're going to defeat Kamala, and we're going to make America great again. I hope you don't mind that entire opening, you know, I was going to get out of here fast. I'm doing 4 of these things today. They're big. And the voice is holding up just about barely. But I had to express it. You have been a very special group to me because I've won I've never lost a primary. I've never lost. In North Carolina, I've won everything. I won those elections. I've made all these friends. So I just give you a little bit of a thing. And by the way, the press will say, oh, he rambled. No, that's not rambling. You know what that is? That was genius. That's the weave. No, see, I wove, frankly, the rest of it I don't really even have to talk about. But that was the ultimate weave. And think of it, isn't it nice that you can have a president that doesn't need to use a teleprompter? Isn't it nice? And I got to go a little quicker now because you know what? I took Marco's place and I took Sarah Huckabee Sanders' place. I said, do you mind if I go now? Because you know what? We got to keep a schedule. And I'm going to ask them to come up right now. Just come up. Because I took their place. And it's so rude. Marco is a big winner, beautiful winner from Florida. As you know, he's a great guy. He's my friend. And Sarah is now the governor of Arkansas. And we love those people in Arkansas. So while I'm talking, I'm going to ask them to come. See, we're trying to conserve a little time. But they are incredible people. Oh, come on up if you can, if you're around, wherever. Come on. See? That's called efficiency. I figure Sarah would be finished now and Marco would just about be getting started. Two great friends, two very talented. No, but I figured Sarah would just about now be finishing, and Marco would be starting. And you know, he's a great speaker. They're both great speakers. They speak for a long time. And I'd be sitting in the back. I'd say, get them off the stage now. So they were so nice. And I'm going to just ask them to each say a little bit. And we're then going to make our next stop. Come on. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. It is an honor to share the stage with America's best and favorite president. And soon to be our next president again. We know we've never had a president who fights more, who fights harder, and loves this country the way that Donald J. Trump does, and that's why we need him back in the White House. Every day when the left was relentlessly attacking me, It was Donald Trump who stood up for me, who empowered me, and gave me confidence to do my job, and that's what he does for every single American, every single day. He will not let us down. Make sure you get out and vote, North Carolina. We need you because America needs Donald Trump, and we're going to make it happen. Thank you so much for all you're doing.
We took, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, wow. Unfortunately, our country took a wrong turn 4 years ago, and now we're stuck in a malaise. Everything is bad news. Our border is broken. We're not respected in the world. Hardworking men and women have been forgotten and left behind. Our allies don't trust us, and our enemies don't fear us. We are tired of living in a country that is no longer dreaming big, but that is going to change tomorrow, and you're going to help change it. Tomorrow, North Carolina and the country are going to make our 45th president our 47th president. And with Donald Trump back in the White House, together we will dream big again for this country. We will be a country that once again is proud of its history, excited about its future, because together with Donald Trump, we are going to make America not just great, but greater than it has ever been before. Thanks.
Okay, so they both did better. If they stood up here and spoke each for half an hour, what they just did was better and appreciated and brings us a little bit into schedule. You know, one thing Marco was talking and I said, you got hit so hard by that hurricane and we didn't care about what we're doing today. We only cared about saving lives, and we did a good job. FEMA did a horrible job. The administration, they're still not there. You know why? Because they've spent all their money on bringing in murderers and a lot of people.